NBC Palm Springs presents Stand Up to Cancer.
Good evening, I'm Thalia Hayden. Thank you so much for joining us as NBC Palm Springs joins the initiative Stand Up to Cancer. It seems we've all been touched by cancer, whether you know someone who has it or you're battling some form of it yourself. The next half hour is dedicated to giving you useful information, resources, and personal stories of resilience, strength, and hope. Let's begin with someone near and dear to the NBC Palm Springs family, Bob McCauley. He's not only our general manager, but a pancreatic cancer survivor. Bob, I want to thank you for being here to do this interview because you are our general manager, and there's a whole other side of you that we here in the newsroom don't know or didn't know. I certainly didn't know that you experienced a battle with cancer. Can you tell us what happened when you got your diagnosis?
2009. You know what? I was having some stomach pain and really didn't think much of it. And felt like bubbles, felt like I would take some Tums, and every once in a while, I'd say I probably had it for 5 or 6 months. And my wife's a nurse, and she finally went, why don't you just go get that checked out? So I went to the doctor, and I figured I was going to get a ulcer. I don't know. Nothing bad was going through my mind. So they sent me for an ultrasound, like a woman having a baby. And I don't know how quickly he said to me, you have a growth on your pancreas. But it was early on in the meeting. And the truth is, I don't think I heard another word. I dealt with it it was just something I had to deal with, right? I guess I didn't go through the 5 stages of why me, because I thought, why should it be somebody else, right? I didn't think that was proper. And I guess being in business forever, I thought, okay, we have a problem. I can spend a lot of time talking about the problem, or I can work on the solution. So right away, I just said, okay, docs, what do we got to do? So he said, look, you're in for hellacious surgery. They're going to fillet you and take out parts of you, but I think you got a chance. And he didn't say to me, you're going to be okay, he just said, you got a chance. And again, the athlete in me said, chance, let's go. I do believe for certain that if you think you can beat things, you got a better shot. And if you don't, you don't. And the mental part of cancer is maybe the toughest part of all. You start to doubt things that the doctors tell you. Why do you do that? The doctors know better than you. But I feel funny, well, trust it, just go. So I really played the trust game.
So you'd say you followed everything that the doctor recommended for you? I
was a good patient. I got to tell you, I went from diagnosed to cut open very fast. I was operated on 2 weeks after.
Wow.
And they took out my pancreas, they took out my spleen, they took out my gallbladder, they took a lot of parts. They cut me, a 2-foot scar across. And everything came out okay. Since I've beaten it, I tried to get behind pancreatic cancer altogether, and it was such a heavy lift. Most of the people weren't making it, that I've just decided to get behind cancer. Because cancer is as scary as, it doesn't matter what kind of, it almost doesn't matter the word that goes with it. Breast, pancreatic, whatever, cancer, right? Scares the crap out of people. And sometimes they just need a shoulder to cry on, a pat on the back, a boost, and that's kind of one of my messages to everybody. A lot of people don't say anything because they just don't know what to say to somebody. And nobody wants to hear a sob story, right? Nobody wants you feeling sorry for them, but a pat on the back, you got this, life is good, I'm thinking of you. That's all you got to do. You just have to start to trust. And it's really not your body that betrays you, it's your mind. And you just got to go to your mind, and that's why this mind is pretty simple, right?
Which is
mind,
better.
I just go, come on, man, trust them.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
And as we join this initiative, Stand Up to Cancer, our network, we're hearing all different types of stories, success stories, some not so much. What would your message be to anybody who's either caring for someone with cancer or struggling with it? What that nugget, if you had one?
So when I was first diagnosed, a peripheral friend called me and he said something to me that I have used time and time again, because everybody hears cancer and the first thing they think is, I'm going to die. And the fact is, he said, welcome to the club that nobody wants to be a member of, but we're all proud card-carrying members, and it's cancer survivors. It's a growing club every single day. It isn't the death sentence that people think it is. There are more cancer survivors out there than there's ever been before, and in a year there's going to be even more than that. So why not you? right? Why not you? Keep a positive attitude, beat this thing. And it is true, people are beating cancer all the time.
And Bob's right, people are beating cancer all the time. In fact, you're about to meet a woman who stood up to cancer twice. We'll have her story after the break. As we stand up to cancer together, we're sharing stories of hope and health. Our next guest is a two-time cancer survivor. Joining us now is Dale Parrott. And Dale, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for being here. We understand that you're not the only one in your family that got a cancer diagnosis.
Nope.
Tell us a little bit about the family history.
Okay, well, my mother had lung cancer. My father had colon cancer. My brother had melanoma. My other brother had prostate cancer. I have breast cancer. Two-time survivor, and I was the first one in my family to get breast cancer. And when I found out later about the BRCA gene, a lot of those other cancers had something to do with that.
Now, being that cancer was in your family history, were you already mentally prepared?
No, actually not at all. It was one day, it was shortly before my 47th birthday, was just doing your thing, undressing and things, and I found a very large lump. And so I went to the doctor and, they said, okay, let's take a little biopsy, and had the biopsy done. And I remember them calling the lady when she was doing it, she said, it's nothing, don't worry about it, it's nothing. And I actually was at work one day and they called me and said, can you come over? We have the results. I said, no, I'm really busy at work and, you just need to tell me. No, we need you to come over. And I said, you need to tell me. And she said, it's breast cancer. And I just held onto the phone for a minute and I hung it up and kind of basically said, I need to go now. And that was, quite a shock. It was invasive, so automatically a mastectomy, automatically chemo and radiation. So, went through all of that. And I actually did very well. I was the poster child for chemo. I didn't get sick, anything. I did lose my hair, which I cut off actually when it first started falling off. So I had that look and, I rocked it. And I wanted to have my other breast removed because, having one, let's just do it. Well, I broke my leg that year playing softball, so I, had to put it off. So the next year I went to do it. They said, well, let's just do a little mammogram. They found out I had something going on.
So in the other breast?
In the other breast. So they did a biopsy. I have breast cancer.
How has life been post-cancer?
It's been... I love to make jokes and do things, and I think I'm just very lucky. I'm very blessed. I was a surgical nurse, And so when I went into surgery with patients who were going through the same thing as I was, to me, that was a blessing. You know, I could hold their hand and I could say, you know, you got this. This is what I have. And I don't have reconstruction. So, you know, there's sometimes I just thought, you know what, I wear this look well. And they would just laugh, you know, and I just tell them, I said, you know, my boobs are in my locker. And, you know, so I put them on when I need to.
You're great.
So you just have to look at it like that. I know a few people that have had breast cancer, and within months they had died.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of look at, well, it's not my time to go, you know.
Our last guests were just talking about laughter and the importance of levity and kind of bringing some humor into the situation. How much of a part, Dale, do you think that plays in being successful in beating cancer?
You know what, I don't know if it's just the humor with the cancer. That's just kind of who I am. I think it has a lot to do with it. You just have to, I can't dwell on, you know, being sad about it. It's just like, it is what it is. Do I wish I was like I was before? Absolutely. You know, but I'm not, you know, but I'm still here.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
You are certainly a light, and thanks for standing up to cancer with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And we'll be right back. As we stand up to cancer together, we're now going to introduce you to a 6-year-old boy named Valentin Garcia who is battling a brain tumor. Our Regina Urita spent some time with this brave little guy and his family and is now here in studio to tell us more. Regina, tell us about this little boy and what happened.
So Valentin, first at 5 years old, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It's called medulloblastoma, right? It's one of the most common ones in children right after leukemia. They thought that he had overcome this, this brain tumor, and unfortunately it came back. So now at 6 years old, he's going to have to battle this again. And it's kind of a traumatic experience for a 6-year-old. He's 6.
Of course, yeah. And the diagnosis came at 5. He was in the clear, so went into some form of remission.
Yes.
And now it has returned.
So at 5, his father noticed that his child was complaining with certain headaches, right, constantly. And he didn't think that it was going to be something so serious. And once they went into the exam room, they did these neurological exams, and that's what they found out.
All right, let's take a look.
there's no cure for it.
5 words no parent can ever imagine having to say.
When I'm broken, he picks after me.
And yet, Jose Garcia says them about his little boy, Valentin. Valentin is 6 years old, and his only concern should be which toy he wants to play with. But Valentin has brain cancer. He suffers throbbing headaches and doesn't have energy to play like healthier children. Every second is a fight for his life, and his father, Jose Garcia, is fighting for every moment with his little boy. All of this began with Valentin suffering migraines. His father thought they were triggered by too much screen time.
We beat it the first round, and it's back again. Under his Adura, he has what it is like a bubble, and it formed liquid in it, and so that bubble's like a small tumor.
The dura is the tough outermost membrane that covers the brain and spinal cord. On average, there are more than 4,000 new diagnoses of childhood brain and spinal cord tumors in the U.S. every year. It's the second most common type of childhood cancer after leukemia. For Valentin, being sick is confusing and scary. For Jose, it means that now is not the time to cry.
It's taught me a lot to, roll with the punches and not break down emotionally, because he's the one actually battling everything. So I'm here toughing it out as a parent and doing the best I can for him.
Yeah, we're learning how important it is to keep living, to not let a diagnosis stop you from living. And it looks like that's what the parents are trying to do here.
Yes, because for a 6-year-old, he's still trying to understand. But for the dad, knowing fully what's happening, I think for him, it's something just really hard, and he has to overcome that and be strong for his little boy.
Put on a brave face, even though they're dealing with so much. All right, and the follow-up here is what happens next?
So right now, they're in treatment. So Valentin is in treatment. They're going through radiation. From there, it's kind of just waiting and seeing. And, Valentin and his father are basically just in God's hands right now.
Aw, and we certainly wish the family and, of course, little Valentin well. This is just one of many stories we're going to bring you as we stand up to cancer together. We'll be right back. As we stand up to cancer together, the battle is not done when a survivor goes into remission. In fact, life after cancer can be challenging. A local organization is trying to make it easier for those trying to adapt to a routine lifestyle after cancer. So here to shed some light on this, Shae Morago. She is the founder of the organization called Shaes Warriors, and she's also a survivor herself. Rosemary Flannery also joining us, who was Shae's nurse coordinator. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, Shae, let's start with you and your story. What was your diagnosis and when did this happen?
Sure. It was February 11th of 2016. I was diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer.
So your life literally turned upside down.
Within a 3-week amount of time.
Do you remember what when you look back now, does it seem like a blur, or do you remember what you were kind of feeling?
I think it comes and goes. When it's that time of year, that feeling comes back right away. When I hear other survivors' stories, it comes back, but it is starting to get better.
Yeah, one day healthy, the next day I have cancer.
Right.
And just from the stories I've been doing with this series, I'm realizing that word alone, when somebody gets that diagnosis, it's almost like everything else fades away. All you hear is cancer.
Cancer and am I gonna die? And when you are told that you have triple negative stage 3, the stats aren't good. You know, that's the first thing doctors and medical personnel will tell you about it. And you want to go to Google and you see that it's not good and you see it's a metastatic breast cancer. And all of a sudden, here I am almost 5 years later.
So how did Rosemary come into the picture? So you get the diagnosis, you say this all kind of happens fast, before you know it, you're in chemotherapy. And when did she enter your life?
I had gotten some calls from the Eisenhower's Lucy Curci breast cancer group. And Rosemary was calling me, asking me if I'd like to join the group.
We realized that this was a young woman with something very frightening going on. So we wanted to offer all the support that we possibly could.
What is the key for somebody in a support role?
The person that is the caregiver to someone who's going through cancer treatment is vitally important. And their lives, too, change dramatically in a week. You go from your normal life, you might have children, you might be caring for someone else, and your spouse is diagnosed. So there needs to be an entire reevaluation of your life, your roles. Most of the caregiving does fall upon women. And an interesting statistic is that 65 million people in the United States are identified as caregivers.
The caregiver needs care and support as
well. Exactly. So those are some things. Not everyone is instinctually a caregiver. So you have to think about your life and how it can be rearranged. You have to think about organizational skills and calendaring and medical appointments and evaluating the home. How can I provide the safest environment for this person? How can I be that support system? What can I do? So the vital step of a caregiver is to realize that you cannot do it all by yourself.
Thank you so much, Shae and Rosemary, for joining us. You've really shed some light and given lots of hope as we stand up to cancer together. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we stand up to cancer together, we're looking at medical breakthroughs and statistics on those living with the disease. It's important to arm ourselves with knowledge and awareness. And here to shed some light from a medical standpoint is one of our area's top physicians, Dr. Judy Jackson. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks. Well, let's start with the fact that people are now going on to live full lives. At one point, cancer was known as a death sentence, but that's not so much the case anymore, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. The breakthroughs that we've experienced, the breakthroughs that we've achieved, have allowed us to live longer, have allowed us to cure more people at even higher stages of disease. But we have a lot of people who come to us who already have metastatic stage 4 disease that are living beautiful lives now, have no evidence of cancer.
Throughout the show, we have heard those stories.
Yeah,
I was telling you about our general manager who beat pancreatic cancer, which I guess is only an 8% survival rate. Are those numbers moving, the statistics?
Yes,
okay.
they are. Actually, let's talk about pancreatic for a moment. It used to be 8%. Do you know that it's now up 17% now? Every single cancer, we've improved our 5-year survival. Early detection is the prime reason we are surviving. We find it early. Early stage 1s, we can cure just about everybody.
That's amazing.
So, and we used to not even be able to say that, but the medications have improved. The medications have become more tolerable, so patients can take it and still have a full life, not have the side effects.
Let's talk a little bit about medications, because back in the day, you hear chemo radiation and you freak out. But now, isn't it a pill that people are taking?
A lot of it's a pill. A lot of it's a pill through immunotherapy. We use standard chemotherapy still at the very beginning when we first diagnose someone and we diagnose their cancer, because our first chance is our best chance to get rid of that cancer. But we mix. We now are able to use medications that are more sensitive or specific to that one cancer. So you don't see all the other side effects. We don't have people lose the hair as much as we did before. We don't see them getting nauseated. We don't see the fatigue. We don't see the change in the bone marrow and their blood numbers reducing, meaning their red blood cells, because we have medicine to support that. And
what are the odds of the cancer coming back? Because I've talked to survivors that are...
There's always that. And that's why you keep coming back to your oncologist to be followed. And we do scans and we x-ray and we examine you and we talk to you, see what your symptoms are, because we want to catch that right away. Even if that happens, it's not a death sentence.
What are your thoughts on a holistic approach that people look to
supportive.
Alternative medicine, I would say in addition to?
Yes,
a nice
in addition to. And you have to watch that, because certain oral medications, certain chemo and immunotherapy, if you take too much vitamin A or E, it'll counteract the drug. So we need to know what you're on and what you're taking. But we're very supportive in taking acupuncture, different pressure massage, a lot of different herbal supplements. You just need to tell us so that we know how to adjust your medications so that we don't have a problem.
Is there anything you could shed some light on as far as the public may not know about breakthroughs that could be coming to give us hope that we could look forward to in the medical field?
You see a lot of it on your commercials already, is the immunotherapy that's coming out that's helping to teach your immune system to fight your own cancer. That is taking front stage, and it should, because that's what's giving us all of the extra survival that we have not seen. These 5-year and 10-year statistics will only get better. So please come in, get tested, take care of yourself.
Dr. Judy Jackson, you're a wealth of information, and you supplied us with some encouragement and hope today as we stand up to cancer together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us as NBC Palm Springs joins the initiative Stand Up to Cancer. For more information and unlimited resources, you can always reach out to our community partners, the Desert Cancer Foundation, by visiting their website, desertcancerfoundation.org, or you can always call their number 760-773-6554. I'm Thalia Hayden. Good night.